right.
Cheers, guys.
Say if you want. All right. Welcome to T.D.G.S. Sports. And we're talking about playoffs. Playoffs? Playoffs? Is that where we're at now? Anyway, there's been some things that have been shaken up around the league. And by God, LaFleur has not been fired yet. What the hell is going on with that one? Where we at?
Well, you know what? The one thing I have to say, though, is there's going to be some uncomfortable things going on with a couple of franchises here very soon. And one absolutely is the Houston Texans. They got eliminated last week. Their defense always stellar, but the disturbing C.J. Stroud. I thought that, we talked about it last week. I thought it was a little bit of an anomaly when he was really bad against the Steelers. And then he goes out last week. And here's what I read about him. His QBR, quarterback rating, was so low that if you, Justin, went out there and played quarterback in an NFL game, and all you did was every time you got the ball, you just spiked it into the ground, you would have had a higher QBR than C.J. Stroud had during that playoff loss to the Patriots. So when his rookie deal comes up, that's going to be a really kind of uncomfortable negotiation. If you're a CJ or a JJ, it's going to get tough. And you're playing quarterback because JJ McCarthy over there in Minnesota, who they bet on, and his rookie deal is going to be up in a couple seasons now, so we'll see what they do. But Minnesota's got to be kicking themselves because Sam Darnold is one game away from the Super Bowl, and they gave him up because they were betting on JJ. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
What a kick in the teeth. Anyway, yeah. So let's hit on Stroud. What did I say a couple episodes ago? What did I say?
Well, word for word, I got it written down. You said C.J. Stroud stinks. Is that what it is?
C.J. Stroud stinks. He is not your guy. He's not your guy.
Well, what happened? How'd the wheels come off? Can he just not handle pressure, maybe?
He can't.
Honestly, he looked okay in last year's playoffs because they made this playoffs the season before, but Nico Collins and Tank Dell both were injured, so he played as well as he could with down his two receivers. But this year, I don't know what happened. I don't know.
No, I know what happened. He wasn't good last year, and we thought he was. I didn't.
It can't be that simple. You can't.
Yes,
you can't just regress like that.
He's not good. So here's what happened: it's the Devin Hester effect. One season, kill it, do great. Everyone's talking about you. The next season, we figured out. We figure out how to get you off your rhythm, off your pace, and now we got C.J. Stroud, who, like I said, is not the guy. Right? If I put on pads, and play quarterback, and you know me, I don't play quarterback, I could have done a better job. I would have made that game more enjoyable.
Well, enjoyable is one word, definitely entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. But I wouldn't have lost
the ball. One of his throws was so bad that one of his players blew out his knee trying to catch it.
Yeah.
Trying to make a twisting. And, I saw the first play of the game, and I texted one of my confidants about this when the game first started. CJ had a guy open in the flat, probably 8 yards up the field, and he threw it into the ground. And I said, it's going to be a long day. And the last time I remember doing that, Super Bowl 50, when Cam Newton came unglued, watch the first series by the Panthers. And what does Cam Newton do? Receiver wide open in the flat, and he throws it into the ground. And I said that at the same time. I was like, because what they want to do as a quarterback, get you in rhythm. So they give you an easy play, here, all you got to do is dump it off to this guy. You can't make that, and it did not bode well. That turned out to be the end of Cam Newton. Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, now he's dressing like a grand.
Emotionally, he was never the same guy, and we'll see how C.J. Stroud, if he
with Cam Newton, you could see the PTSD in his eyes when somebody asks him a question when he's like a commentator. It's like, right? C.J. Stroud, look at him when he hit the ground with that first fumble. He looked like a baby that lost its toy. He was
CJ, in his defense, CJ always kind of looks like that.
But this was like when you start to see it 3 weeks in a row, you're like, man, I don't know. CJ
has RBF, that's resting baby face. That's just the way he is. That's what he has. CJ, he looks like that. Come on. He looks
Yeah.
like a kid. You see him walking down, say, hey, you hungry? Come on in for some mac and cheese. Okay, come on. You know he'd be fine. Just
Yeah, but he would probably fumble the football too if you told him that. Go get
I'm
some
sure
mac
he'd
and
spill
cheese.
that
He'd
mac and
fumble,
cheese on his shirt,
yeah,
but he'd be okay.
but that's another case though. This quarterback class sucks. They're
There
terrible.
are some deficiencies at the position of quarterback. I will definitely say that. And unfortunately, this week we're going to have a big battle to see who goes to the Super Bowl. I always love Championship Sunday. I mean, too many Super Bowls back to back. And then you have the big game in 2 weeks. But Denver finally makes it, but they lost Bo Nixon overtime. Breaks his ankle.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be Jarrett Stidham to see if he can somehow.
I listen.
Jeff
Listen.
Jeff Hostetler. Oh, everybody over 50 is leaning forward with interest now. Yeah, Jeff Hostetler. And maybe get to the Super Bowl and win it as a backup. Jeff Hostetler did with Phil Simms back in the day for the Giants. Oh, my goodness. So we'll see. But I like to see Hos get in there.
Listen, man. What happened when QB1 went down on the Packers? Oh, Brett Favre came in. We could see it.
Well, that was a Wally Pipp situation. That's a whole different thing, man. That's a whole different thing. And also Trent Green, who was backed up, who had Kurt Warner was Trent Green's backup. Trent Green hurts himself. Warner comes in. The rest is history. Hall of Fame. Played in 2 Super Bowls. Done deal. But I think since we're on quarterbacks, let me congratulate the league MVP, Matthew Stafford, who over these past 2 games, we talk about quarterback play. And when it came right down to it, those dividing lines, who did he beat the week before this? He beat a very young Bryce Young. And this week, who did he beat? He beat a very young Caleb Williams. So when it comes down to this whole thing, I think the experience came through and handling those big moments comes through. And that was the difference in those games. But we'll see if he can keep that up against Sam Darnold.
Listen, I will hold to it. I will hold to it, and I've hated. I did not like him when he was on the Lions, and I still don't really like him. But I have to give him. It's like the Tom Brady effect. You got to give him credit, right?
Right.
He can get that ball. He was moving around more than usual. He also got hit sometimes too, right? But again, he can get that close throw, the mid level throw, and that deep ball when it needs to be there, right where it needs to go. And he can, essentially him and his receivers have that connection where he can turn the shoulders of the receiver to get them to maneuver the defender, the cornerback, so to speak, essentially away from the ball. Right. And I enjoyed that. It was something where I finally got to say, you see that breath of fresh air when you're like, finally, I'm seeing a good quarterback.
And also him having, now when you look at, one of your boys, a healthy Devontae Adams along with Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
Looks like Adams is 100% now, and he will be for this game. And Adams, of course, no stranger to bad weather, having played in Green Bay. So that game's going to be in Seattle. There's no dome there. That should be an excellent, excellent contest. Excellent.
I think that'll be, yeah, but again, right, the experience here.
Well,
you got the experience.
Darnold has been in the league a long time. He just came into his own, last season and this season because, he had to play for the Jets, for the love of God. He had to play for the Jets.
Yeah.
Just like Stafford, you talk about Stafford having played for the Lions. And all those years, I thought that Stafford and the numbers he was putting up, it was all kind of specious because he was playing for the Lions. And it turns out he was just in a dysfunctional organization. He got to the Rams, and now he has become really a different quarterback. And in this twilight of his career, him being the age that he is, and he's showing things that, now that he's really starting to blossom even late. And I think you could say the same thing with Sam Darnold. So that's going to be an excellent, excellent contest.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. That's for sure. That is for sure. I think that watching Sam Darnold this past week, it was one of those moments where I think though they is the confidence booster, right? They got the confidence booster moving into the next round, and so we do have to account for that, right?
And he's injured too. Remember, he didn't even
Yeah,
practice before the game because of
right.
that strained oblique, and he was questionable to even play. And you could tell he wasn't at 100%. So you just go out
Yeah,
there and execute the way that you can. And I get it. 49ers, you're talking about, oh, you only had one guy injured? Really? So,
yeah.
it's
Well,
just that.
again, but it's in all things considered, the 49ers did really bad, actually. That was not what I expected from at least the defense. Right. But again, you have a confidence 41-6. You gotta ride the wave. You gotta ride the wave, brother, to the big game.
We'll see
You know,
Stafford at his.
Charbonnet, he did
Mhm.
well. I think every time I watch him play, and I gotta be honest, I've only seen him play a couple times because they're not generally on the TV out here, right? And he's fundamental. He gets the job done, right? He's someone you can count on. I think that's a big deal, especially with Darnold as he's finding
Mhm.
himself, right? He has guys that you can look and go, okay, that's consistency. That's a good program. You could see
Right.
the discipline that McDaniels is setting up in that program. And like I say, I hold to it. I think that they were, and I know Tom Brady talked about the Seahawks of the Carroll era, but I think that we're looking at a team that if they're not better now, they will be better than that team. I think the
Yeah.
program's better.
And I think that both of those teams, because the Rams have solid defense, very solid, although I think the Seahawks defense may be solider. And then you got good quarterback play. The Rams maybe a little edge there. And what I like too is the defense is when it comes to short yardage. I mean, you got that two-headed battering ram of Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks. And then you got Kyron Williams and Blake Corum over there for the Rams. The only thing, when I look at those running backs, I wish Kenneth Walker didn't sound like he had just inhaled helium. When he gives his interviews, it's like that's just an observation. I mean, he sounds a little bit
That's
like a Keebler elf, but I wish I could do anything as well as Kenneth Walker
yeah,
runs the
that's
ball. And
that's
if I
that
ever
moment.
meet him, I hope he doesn't punch me out for saying that. But
That's that moment they go into the interview and then everyone's, he starts talking. Everyone's sitting there going, "What the?"
right, right. It doesn't. The voice does not match the body. But
Yeah.
that brother can play.
Now let
That's
me tell you something though. If you were that doing the interview, right, and he started talking, would you walk away or would you finish the interview? Would you go,
see.
I
I
don't know
think
if this
right
works?
away, I would think he was messing with me. I'd be like, dude, no, this is for real. But now knowing that he talks that way, I wouldn't be stunned. I'd be ready for it, and I would be the professional that I am, and I would be like, "Okay, you got any cookies on you? After we're done, you got any cookies on you?"
God, he's on you. Would you ask him about it though? Would you be like, "Hey, what's wrong with your voice?"
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Well, that's just what he was born. That's the way God made him. Gave him that body and that voice because God has a sense of humor. That's what it comes down to. That's what it is. Oh yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba. The wide receivers. I didn't mention him. Had to give him his props over there for Seattle. This game has all the elements, and I think it's great. Great way to cap off the Sunday because it's the second game of the day. You know, Seahawks 2.5 point favorites up there in Seattle. A division game too. When you look at that whole thing of the divisional round, you have the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks. That tells you something about that NFC West.
I
Real
think, I was
powerhouse.
talking about that this year. I think that the NFC in general had the strongest they kind of had the strongest teams there.
Yeah.
I think that even with all the folies of like the Packers and everybody else, even with Frisco, which I bet you Sirianni was just crying this weekend, right? But they had the strongest schedules. They were the teams where it's like I at the end of it, I'm not gonna say which team, but until we see the outcome this upcoming weekend, but I'm gonna lean more towards the NFC. I want to say the NFC has the stronger teams, and I don't think that either one of those, for the AFC are going to be the contenders that people want them to be. Um, so
Interesting quarterback matchups when I look at the possibles in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's going to be either, Drake May or Jarrett Stidham starting in the Super Bowl for the
yeah,
AFC teams, and then either Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold starting for the NFC. So either way, you've got pretty inexperienced quarterbacks starting for the AFC in the Super Bowl. That'll be interesting to see. And also, I think Jarrett Stidham, he is a little better, I think, than people give him credit for. He has a very small sample size, but I watched him when he came into the league. He's got good awareness. We'll see what he can do Denver has a
What
good defense.
what comes down to it though is that heart, that desire, right? I think a lot
Right.
of times people want to see that second string core. We talked about it earlier with Malik Willis, right?
Mhm.
He had that game, and I think the heart was there because he came back with the second game and did the same thing until he got hurt. Right.
Right.
I think so. Is will he show up and will that heart, is his character there? Or is he gonna be like Ben Johnson where he's gonna just zip through, right? Um
You
so
bring up a good point. With your boys, we'll take two teams with similar situations here. We got in San Francisco, Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Both of them potentially, obviously, they're starting caliber. Mac Jones filled in admirably when Brock Purdy was out this year. And for your Green Bay Packers, your immortal beloveds, you have Jordan Love, you have Malik Willis. Okay, if you are the man and they call you up and they say, "Hey, what should we do?" They can get a haul for either of those guys with via trade this offseason, or do you just try to kind of stick with that two-headed monster that you got?
but
Is
that
Malik Willis ready to start, or maybe you move Love? Well, that would be a shrewd move.
but okay,
Move Love.
again though, we're seeing a class of quarterbacks, and I'm gonna come back to this, right? You see the
Yeah,
CJ Stroud failed, right? We got a comment this week actually, is really funny because it was Caleb stinks, right? Just a flash in the pan, right? And I was like,
right.
damn, yeah, that's right. That's right. He's the same way because every time you put pressure on, I will see, and I'll call it right now. You will see defenses pull out of blitz packages against him next year because when you get him flustered, he messes up. Right. And same thing with Love. Love came out just sucked, right? We remember that first game he started playing. It was the
Right.
worst loss we've seen.
Yeah.
And then you have these second string guys like Malik Willis, who I think if anybody rating them, at least if the league's rating them, the Malik Willis should rate higher. It's like he had the heart that came out with it, right? And again, you saw it with Brett Favre. Brett Favre had the heart, and so when he came out for as quarterback two and moved to quarterback one, magic from there on out, right? Except for the
Throwing the
latter
most
part of the
interceptions in NFL
yeah,
history.
well, when you
Yeah.
get when you need bifocals, eventually you got to hang up the pads, right? But that's the point though, right? So we have the heart. We have similar situations. Malik Willis came out and killed it. So I believe I see that you've got a lot to carry for Denver. I don't think it's going to be one where Denver's going to roll over.
No,
Right. I don't think it's gonna be the, San Francisco, where it's like, your team, the main players of your team are missing and you're out. I don't. I see the heart here, and I'm gonna be very interested and I'm still thinking. So when we get to the point where we start giving our predictions, I'm really gonna struggle with this one. Uh, but can we go back to our predictions? My God, we got two predictions absolutely perfect. You ready for this? Denver winning by a field goal. What happened? What happened? Look at that score. Did we not get that one right?
well, speaking of that game, it just kind of made we got on this and we talk about quarterback play and everything. Good Lord, Josh Allen, what are you doing? It's the end of in that play at the end of the first quarter when he's running. He's at his own. The ball was snapped. I think there were 17 seconds left to play, and there he is trying to run in the open field. There's like maybe 8 seconds left, and he's still like at his own 40-yard line. Where was he even going before he fumbled? He
I had a
wasn't going to
question.
make it into
I
field
had
goal
a
range.
question
What
with
was
that,
he
right?
doing?
I had a question with that because I had to sit there. So that last series, I really said I had to go, was that McDermott or was that Josh Allen just being Josh Allen? Like, yeah, you were going to run in the middle of the field and you're going to
And
get
to what?
to, yeah, what are you going to do from there? That wasted a lot of time. But the sad thing was the
But he
commentators in
fumbled and put them immediately in field goal range, gave up another 3 points, and ultimately the game goes into overtime. Oh, gee, what happens if that 3 points wasn't given up? Oh, I know. Buffalo wins in regulation. That's what happens.
yeah, they win, and it's like, but again, I go back. Was we have an awkward situation? I think we had the Aaron Rodgers effects, right? Where you have McDermott, who's pretending to be a really good coach, right? But he's theoretically more mediocre, right? And then you have Josh Allen, who's becoming, the superstar, right? Is that what was that a disconnect? Was that like a okay, you call a play, but I'm going to do something completely different,
All right.
right? I've
Here's
dealt with I've dealt with players like this, and I've had a lot where they just call something else, and then it's like you had to sit there and go, that was your fault. You made
Here's
that
my theory.
decision.
When it comes to Josh Allen is he needs to understand situations. Okay, look, there's Superman, there's Clark Kent. We know that, those of us who read the comics, we know that Superman is the guy and it's like he pretends to be Clark Kent. Now, here's the thing. If Clark Kent is walking down the street and sees a kitten up in a tree, okay, he may help and get that kitten down, but he won't change into Superman to do it. He'll just climb up the tree as Clark Kent, get the kitten down, and then hand it to the old lady, and that'll be that. Josh Allen thinks he has to turn into Superman whenever he does any simple task. It's like, dude, all we need is Clark Kent right now. You're okay. But
Yeah.
he's constantly running around with the cape on, even when he doesn't need to. It's
Yeah.
like save it for those moments. And that's what the great quarterbacks do. It's in those moments. That's what Matthew Stafford, he's
but
in those moments you need it. The cape goes on. Aaron Rodgers, the same thing. Well, he's gotten kind of weird since he's gotten older. But in the heart of his career,
his cape's a little bit green and smells.
It is, yeah. It's tattered, torn, and it doesn't. When he runs now, it doesn't fly out behind him. It just lays against his back because there's not that much.
Well, he needs the shaman. He needs the shaman to help him out with that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
but someone has to reel Josh Allen in, and we know it's not going to be McDermott because they.
Well, I think. Yeah, and so that was our other prediction, right? What did you said before we signed off? And I remember that because I texted you the second it happened. You go, if they lose, McDermott's getting fired, and that was the sign off. And it was like I sat there when I got that update on my phone. What was it, Sunday? I was like, damn, we got two things absolutely spot on this weekend. And honestly, I think all of our picks would have been great except for freaking CJ Stroud. But I think with Josh Allen, he's a great quarterback. I'm not going to discount him on that, but I think he needs a program that works and will rein him in, right? He can't be the white guy doing the extra white thing, right? You know what I mean? Like he's trying to show that he's got some kind of skill and he can carry the team. And yeah, he's always wearing his Superman uniform always, right? It's you sit there and go, what in God's name, right? Even in the overtime, you look at the decisions that he made on that series and you're just like, that didn't make any sense. They got nothing out of it, and to the point if they got to the point where a field goal wins it, we have a problem. That's not how you start overtime.
Yeah.
And then today they're squabbling over they were squabbling over Coleman, right? Who hired that guy? And so it's like I don't think the program for the Bills kept up with the progress of Josh Allen.
Right, and I guess that was there were some internal grumblings on personnel as far as with the Bills, and we'll never know. Obviously, we'll never know because we weren't in the room, but that kind of led to the whole dismissal of. So interesting, McDermott gets dismissed, but yet the GM gets a promotion to the president of football operations. So Josh Allen was just bad enough to get his coach fired and the GM promoted.
Right.
And I heard that on a different podcast. I'm kind of stealing that just so we can kick it around here. I'm not going to make my own independent thought here because, I do not plagiarize. I don't. So when I get something somewhere else, I'll tell you, we can kick it around. But it just shows there's something weird going on there.
But I think that was the case, though. I think that McDermott's kind of been that where they're like, you end the season, you're like, do we get rid of him? Do we not? And I think that's how it's been for the past couple. Because I think the change, like, if you think about the change that he made, right? It went from them focusing on one receiver, right? You have what was it? It was Diggs, right? He was that guy. And that they would throw to him, and it was really like it was a 1.5 dimension team. I'll say 1.5 because it was like you have your receiver and your tight end, but then it was like then they come back the next season after they lose that one, they get rid of Diggs, and then they go, oh, this is our great idea. Everybody eats.
Well, you remember what led to Diggs getting tossed out of Buffalo was when they lost that playoff game, and it was because they become one-dimensional in the big moments, and Josh Allen sitting on the bench with Diggs standing in front of him, yelling in his face,
Yeah.
That was what it was about, because Allen had
Yeah.
tried to do everything. He wouldn't throw the ball. He thinks that he's just going to look for a seam and run up the yard, run up the field 10 yards or whatever and do whatever. And you got Diggs, wide open calling for the ball, and Josh won't throw it.
Yeah. I'm
Now
sure if
Allen is still that, even though he throws a little bit more, but they need a coach, and they've talked about this before. There's one thing to be a good coach or a great coach, but only certain guys can coach talent. I mean, when you
yeah,
have
absolutely.
this generational talent, it's one thing to have a game plan, but you got a guy like Josh who, I mean, what skill doesn't he have? He's got the arm, the leg, everything.
And he's done a lot to
Do
fix
something.
his throw. He's done a lot to fix his throw.
You're right.
If you
Right.
look at how they have generated the sorry, not generated. They've showed clips of him in his earlier days, and then they showed
Mhm.
clips of him now. He went from the Jordan Love 2-foot lobber, right, to having the right quarterback steps, right, the
Mhm.
stance. He's getting that right rotation, and he's throwing the ball. It's perfect. Well, not necessarily perfect. He's got a lot to learn, but it's better than it was, right? And I think that he has progressed so much that McDermott didn't keep up with it. And you're right, like we talked about last week, where it was, sometimes you're just not fit for a head coach job.
Mhm.
It's the same thing when you're a coordinator. You may not be fit for that talent. You got to figure that
Right.
out, right? Which is, by the way, we'll see a lot of this repetitiveness with these new hires. We just see guys being cycled across the league. But you're right. I think that for McDermott, he didn't know how to keep up with them.
Yeah,
Right. The
I think
idea
that's the
that
same
I
thing I said
think,
about Harbaugh.
yeah,
Harbaugh in with Baltimore, I think possibly it was Lamar had all these tools, and
yeah,
you have that's a lot for you to rein in. It's easy with a guy like Flacco, and I'm not trying to diss Flacco at all, but if you're coaching, you get a game plan. You know what this guy is doing. That's something you can manage a lot easier than you can a guy like Lamar Jackson, where you have all these things that not only Lamar has to rein in, but you have to figure out when to use also. It's
yeah,
like having,
yeah,
giving the keys to a candy store.
yeah.
Okay,
But
what are you
Lamar,
gonna do?
Lamar shares a lot with Josh Allen, right? Because
Right,
I think that Josh Allen doesn't know when to stop. I think Lamar doesn't know when to stop either.
right.
And again, but we go back to the Ravens. It's like firing Harbaugh might fix things, but you need to figure out that you need weapons to keep up with Lamar, right?
Mhm.
Andrews is all right.
He's
He's
a good
hanging.
possession guy. He's
Yeah,
a Jason Witten.
yeah, he's hanging in there, but you need more around him, right? And I think that's the case here. Same thing with the Bills, is that there wasn't enough. There's not enough for Josh Allen to really fall into the idea of everybody eats, right? You don't have the weapons that are needed to make that. And I think that Harbaugh will see that with Jackson Dart. He's growing. He'll get in there with Jackson Dart, but Jackson Dart doesn't have. You have Scatterboo, but you don't have the right weapons. So will
You
we
got
start to
Malik Neighbors. You got some guys. I really don't think the Giants are that
Yeah,
far away.
well, the problem is Malik Neighbors tears his ACL and he's out for the season, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, though, again, if you have Scatterboo than Malik Neighbors, you're still a one-dimensional
AJ Brown.
team.
AJ
Yeah,
Brown's going to be
yeah. I
available
was
from
you think,
Philadelphia.
yeah, he could get pulled that way. I would
AJ
see that.
Brown.
Um, but again, when we see teams enter the draft this year, are we going to see them accommodate these quarterbacks, right? Are we going to see linemen get in there? Which way are we going is really the question, because it's like we got quarterbacks that are great. They just need good programs. Again, coaches got to keep up.
Yeah,
Got to keep
and
up.
that's the thing about the NFL and the intrigue and why it's just so intoxicating is that what other sport is honestly the off season can be just as interesting as a regular season, and everybody waiting on the draft, and then the
Yeah,
draft happens because right around then maybe there'll be draft day trades. See who drafts what, who does what. Then the schedule comes out. Then you got everybody trying to scramble to see what games they're going to see and things like that. So, what are the Dolphins
yeah.
going to do with
That
Tua in this offseason? They have to get. We know he's played his last game. What's going to happen? Also, Deshaun Watson. I believe Deshaun Watson is finally healthy. So Cleveland is going to have Deshaun Watson and they're going to have Shador Sanders. So What goes on
Yeah,
there? We don't know, man. We don't.
but
We
yeah,
know it's going to be Cleveland, but it's interesting.
you fire, yeah. And did you see you fire a coach, right? The coach leaves and goes,
Yeah,
I just did bad because the quarterback sucked.
right. And Baker Mayfield talked about it because he played there, and he said, "Oh, I can't wait to face you twice a year now because now they're both in the NFC South." That's
Yeah.
great.
But then and again, though, it's we'll see these recycles. I just man, that was him leaving and saying that. I read that
Yeah.
and I sat there and went, brother, you can't really believe that. I don't like Deshaun Watson, but again, you got to give him credit where it's due, right? And
Well,
again,
the thing is, you can do things with dignity and stuff. If you get divorced, you can just say, "Hey, things didn't work out." That's it. You
yeah,
don't have to. You don't have to rip somebody and stuff like that. Just say, "Hey, you know what? It's between the two of us," or Stefanski is, "Hey, it's between me and the organization. That's it. It's time to move on. That's
yeah.
all." You don't
I
have to
think
give some scathing whatever as you leave. Just leave. Maintain your dignity. Don't
yeah.
be a jackass about it, and just go on to your next job. You know you're going to
I
get another one. That's that.
Yeah, I think that if he did say something like that, at least leave the other guys out of it and just
Mhm.
say something about Deshaun Watson and those happy endings. Like, come on, let's be for real. If that if that lets you down, if that was the reason why you believe you think you're leaving, we all know it wasn't Baker Mayfield, and we all know that Shador Sanders, while he's not up to par yet, I'll look to see if he starts to grow. Right,
Yeah.
we can at least say, well, maybe it was, because of Deshaun Watson, because he gets in there, and then you have the happy ending thing.
Well, how
Um,
many games did Watson even play for the Browns?
yeah, well, that's the point. That's the point.
What did he play? 6 games, maybe?
Yeah, but if you want to rest your hat on those 6 games, right, that's fine. But you also have like, you know what he didn't say? He didn't say anything about Jameis Winston.
Oh, good lord.
He didn't say anything. He didn't go, my God, I lost my job because the NFL second string quarterback who's been on almost every team for the past what,
Mhm.
15 years.
Yeah.
He didn't talk about that. He talked about the guys who were actually first string material and good, though I'm still mixed on Shador Sanders, but um
Yeah. Well,
uh,
Shador, you give him a few games. He's got to get to NFL speed. I think he could be really. I think he might be the. We'll see. Who knows? He's played a few games, so I just think he's shown flashes. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
And
and
plus, Washington.
I really do attribute some of those college losses not necessarily to him. I think that not Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, sorry, um, wasn't in the right situational awareness, when they would lose those close games. And I think that a lot of that uh, kind of miscommunication between him and his son, I think that's kind of where they go. I used to rest a lot of those losses on Shador, but now looking back at kind of what happened to Dion, as far as Colorado went, and
Mhm.
even at Jackson, was it Jackson State or whatever?
Yeah.
It was kind of like I just don't think that he was the coach he thinks he is.
Well, and we talk about the whole thing of Dion has a lot of passion. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, he's got passion,
You
absolutely.
know,
Not going to
but it
discount
takes
that.
a while, and it takes a while for guys to become good coaches. It takes a while. It's like I said, no one talks about Bill Belichick in Cleveland. Arizona,
Yeah,
it
no,
doesn't happen, but it takes a
no,
while. And
no, but
Dave Roberts managing the Dodgers in baseball. It took him a while to become a good manager. Now
yeah.
he's probably going to the Hall of Fame,
Well,
but
that's
it
one
took a
thing.
while.
Yeah, that's one thing though with Daryl Sutter too. It took him a minute, right? He wasn't that good of a player, but finally figured out how to coach. It's the same. I get you.
Yeah. So
You
we got
know,
to give coaches time to develop also. And
yeah. But I think we also got to give coaches the right weapons too.
right.
I think that if you want your coach to succeed, and we talked about maybe the coach is the right fit, and you can tell who's not the right fit, or who's not kind of growing in while you're giving them the right weapons. Again, LaFleur, let's fire him, get him out of there. He's not growing.
But
Um,
he's still there.
Unfortunately, he's still there, and I think he'll be there. I think they're going to extend his contract.
Yeah.
So the Packers are listening. For the love of God, get rid of LaFleur. He had his chance, missed it. Move on. But I think that's the case, right? We have again. We're looking at a lot of these coaches make a move, right? McDaniel's Where'd he go? He
Well,
went
Mike
to
McDaniel,
Mike
my
McDaniels.
former head coach, he's
He
now
went
going to
to
be what, the offensive coordinator for the Chargers?
Yeah, and I saw that and I go, you can't possibly tell me that that was a good decision. But maybe he's a better offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, so at some point we're seeing these really bad coaches move around the league now.
Mhm.
So what are they going to do to change that, right? Or is it going to be another McCarthy and the the Cowboys where you're just going to get a new coach who got lucky, right? And you think that that luck's still there, and you're not going to give him anything else to work with.
I do like speaking of coaches, what the Vikings did. The Vikings actually extended Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator. Now,
Okay,
also,
yeah,
he obviously he can opt out if he gets a head coaching job, but they have gone ahead and said, "Hey, we want you here. If
yeah.
you want to stay, we want you here." That's a
Well,
good move by the Vikings, and
but
we'll
again,
see what else they
that's
do.
it's a great move. It's something that, by the way, the Packers should have done because where did our defensive coordinator go?
Hey, sunny South Florida, baby. Thank you,
Yeah, right.
thank you.
It's like I said this when I saw that happen. I was talking and I was like, you know, we finally lost like a sound aspect of the Packers, right? When he got in there, he turned our defense from a joke to a recognizable team. You know what I mean? Where they could field a squad even without Parsons. He started to field a squad that could at least slow the ball down.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, what happened? He left, and rightfully so, right? If you're part of a team whose offense isn't growing with you again, it's like just go. I think he can do a lot of good at uh, Miami. I do. I think he can.
Yeah. Hopefully,
I think
I'll go
yeah.
along with that.
I think yeah, because you could obviously tell with the Packers that he had discipline, he had a expectations of greatness, and hard work, a good ethic there, character. So I would look to see that Miami's doing better next year already,
Well, I'll tell you what.
Especially with Quinn Ewers because he's kind of that
Yeah,
not
I
the
think
move around
yeah,
the
he might.
pocket kind of guy.
I like him. And by the way, any of you watching, I'll be in Vegas next year when the Dolphins play there in Vegas. So if you want to step up and just kind of holler at your boy, go ahead and do it. I'll be there. I'll be
I'm
in
telling you,
full down Dolphins gear, much like I am now. But
let's go.
I'll
Let's
pick out my wardrobe. But you know what I
yeah,
mean.
I tell you what, T.D.G.S. Sports might get some field passes, and we'll we can hang out. I tell you what, we'll get down there, hang out, man. Yeah, because again, you see the Dolphins out there in Vegas, man.
And that's another thing, and something I've with Tua, he's going to be gone this year. But I remember when he said they were criticizing me. I said, well, you know what? No matter what, but I win or lose, I get to go home to my wife and kids, and that's the most important thing. And let me explain how selfish a comment that is for people to make. Now, I know all these people virtue signaling and everything else, like, oh, you got to focus on what's important. There are more important things than this, that, and the other. Just remember this: you're getting paid $50 million a year. The people who make it possible for you to make that money are really a bunch of working class people working overtime, taking time away from their families to go and watch your games in the stadium, or even if it's on TV or whatever. So you're telling a bunch of people making, 20, 30, $40 an hour that you're making 50 million, and they are paying to watch you do what you're doing. You're saying, you know what? I'd rather be at home playing with my wife and kids anyways. Whatever. It's like, oh, well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
see,
I
again,
renewed my season tickets, and those thousands really came out of whatever else I could have done. But yeah, it's good to see that you like family barbecues. I'm really happy about that. That's great, Tua.
yeah,
And it shows too. Look at him on the field.
yeah.
I
I
hope he
tell you
throws a
what,
better luau than he does a deep ball. That's all I can say.
I tell you what. One day somebody will pass that guy by on the road, and he'll be having a conversation with the wall. I'm telling you, that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna say, "Is that Tua?" And he will be having a straight up argument with a cinder block wall. I'm telling you. Yeah, it was why do you make that comment? You're making that much money. You're getting paid to play sports and that but again, that's where I go with the
It's
money.
just like NBA players who have
Yeah.
complained about having to play on Christmas. Really? Okay,
Yeah.
again, you're making $50 million a year. What about policemen and medical personnel and firemen and the guy who works at 7-Eleven and everything else, they have to work on Christmas. And you're
Yeah.
upset because you have to work on Christmas. You can't be with your family. You're making what, 30, 40, $50 million a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
You,
sure you can get over it. But
you know
come
the
on.
problem between the NBA players and the guys you just named is the guys you just named could bet legally on the game.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something here, Justin. Just
Yeah.
okay, and I know you may take some fallout for it, but if wherever you work now, in your undisclosed location, they said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to pay you $30 million a year, but you have to work the next 10 Christmases." Would you do it?
$30 million a year
Yes, $30 million
for the
a
next 10
year.
Christmases. That's oh yeah, no trouble about that.
There you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? I would show up with a smile. I'd say, "You want me to sweep the floor? Let me sweep the floor. I got it. I got this one." Because guess
Your
what?
wife would be in the background saying, "Give me that phone." Yes, he'll be there.
Yeah, because after 10 years, what are you gonna do? You're gonna be on the beach sipping a beer. Like what? And on top of that, you get the bonuses, right? For the working hard bonuses. You get to the big
Right.
game, guess what? You get a bonus for that. Playoff win, bonus for that.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, right?
Endorsements.
If I got a
Endorsements.
bonus,
Yeah,
if I got a bonus at my job, on top of the $30 million,
yeah,
yeah, no problems asked because after
right.
10 years, I'm retiring. You
Mhm.
wouldn't see me, hear from me, right? You'd be like, where did that guy
And you'd be
go?
making significantly more than nurses and firefighters,
Yeah,
who
no
also
trouble
have to
asked.
work on Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy. And I wouldn't say, well, at least I get to go home. It's like it's cool. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's like, but at the same time, it's like work hard now, retire, then enjoy that.
Yeah.
You know what? But for him,
Exactamundo.
what?
I said exactamundo, but you know what? These
Yeah.
picks are burning a hole in my pocket here, man. I got my underwear and
Oh,
stuff. I got
yeah. Hold on, hold
my
on. No, no,
notes
no,
and
no, no,
whatnot.
no,
Come
no,
on,
no,
man.
no, no, no,
I'm
no, no,
chomping
no,
at
no,
the bit here. I got to say some things, man.
no, no, no. Let's wait. We got to talk about how many more games do we got to talk about? I think did we cover them all?
We covered the fiasco in New England. We covered the debacle in Denver. We covered the else did we have? Oh, the absolute massacre in Seattle, and the Chicago game. You know where Stafford
No, hold on.
proved
We're
why he
missing
was the
we're
league
we're
MVP.
missing some coaching moves here. Let me pull this up. Oh, yes, we did not talk about Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh
Oh,
going to coach the
going to the
Titans.
Titans, right? We just got done talking about him not being head coach material and your defensive coordinator, and you go to the Titans where I don't even think God could turn that team around.
Well, he already coached the Jets, so to say that he likes a challenge, I think is putting it mildly. Maybe the guy's a glutton for punishment. I don't know, but going to the Titans, like outside of Cam Ward, I don't know what he really sees there. We'll see. Maybe they've got draft picks or something because he seems like an intelligent individual. So why would he take on the job with the Titans? I'm going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt. There must be something he sees that we don't see. I'm going to go ahead and give him that because
I
I like
am
Robert
not.
Saleh.
I am not. He has a dream. He's a dreamer. He said, "One day I'm going to win a championship game as a head coach," right? And he's still dreaming for that. But I just don't think he's the guy. I don't. I think that he is smart defensively, right? But obviously from the Jets, which the Jets is a hard team to turn around, unless you're Bill Parcells, right? You're not going to do that. And I'm not sure why the Jets kept their head coach, which is more impressive to me to add on to that.
Well, what are
But
the Jets going to do? I mean, that's the first time a defense went an entire season without an interception. The Jets, and they even had an extra game to do it. They played
yeah,
17 game season and did not get one interception as a defense.
but again,
Good Lord.
you bring in another guy, right? You find somebody. I mean, shoot, you have
They
McCarthy.
played the
He's
Dolphins twice.
Yeah, you have
His
McCarthy.
boy
McCarthy's
intercepted
not
just in
good.
front of it.
McCarthy's not good, but put him out there, right? Go ahead. You go ahead, try that, right? I mean, you had Lane Kiffin looking for a contract. You should have went and pursued that. offered him more than LSU. And so
Lane Kiffin, I don't think is going to coach at the NFL level.
I don't think he. I think
Yeah,
he's trying to be. He's trying to be Alabama's next coach. Is what he's trying to do.
and also, I think he's realized that coaching in college is a lot. You know, I mean, they gave him the job and what $25 million to pay all the players that he wants.
Yeah.
So,
but again,
hey,
right, with the Jets, it's like find new guys. Right, with the Titans, Saleh's not the guy. Again,
well, who would be the guy for the Titans job? I mean, let's go and look at it that way.
I
don't think you would
honestly,
even take that job, would you?
no, because I would not. I would too. Would be like the I'm not your guy. Because you don't have a lot of guys, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of weapons. Your defense wasn't really anything. I guess you go after Bill Belichick. Say, you know what? North Carolina didn't work out for you. Go ahead, try this team. And if this team doesn't work out, just stop coaching. You know what I mean? Like it's like give him a final tryout as a coach.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Belichick gets to do what he wants. If he sees a job in the NFL that he wants, he's going to take that job. He's going to get that job.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, he will get it. If
Yeah,
he wants to come back to the NFL, which I don't know if he does or not. I don't know if he wants to pursue this. You know, Don Shula with his 347 victories, which is still number one overall, even though he only won 2 Super Bowls, but still, Don Shula was the guy. He's the reason why I love the Dolphins even to this day.
Well, yeah, we can tell. Actually, we couldn't tell that you liked the Dolphins. Actually, it was kind of I was waiting to see if you did.
Yeah.
I
I
was
wasn't going to wear the hat this way, but that's
Yeah.
just too many Dolphin logos there, just going, it just kind of, and then you got the hat over there. Yeah, that says Dolphins on it. So I said
No,
this.
it works out.
What, all the Dolphins?
It works out. Yeah, you just need a live
You got
dolphin.
a dolphin
Yeah,
on my mug.
you got a dolphin mug. You need a live dolphin in the background.
Yeah. I couldn't get the tank in here. That was the problem. And it kept on squeaking. Those dolphin squeaks. After a while, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Like
just add on, brother. You got
watching an NBA game and you're not in the room, and all you hear is all this squeaking off in the distance. That's what it's like having a dolphin in the room. So couldn't do that.
All right, here we go. So we got 2 more segments because I do want to talk about the Kings a little bit with the Jonathan Quick reunion at Crypto Staples Center. But
Jonathan Quick, I hear AARP was in attendance too. See if they get Jonathan Quick an early sign up,
All right, anyway, so here, let's go for our picks. All right, let's start with, here we go, okay? We got New England and Denver, January 25th, 2:00 p.m. This one's tough, right? Because you do have Bo Nix out. You have a second string quarterback coming in. We don't know where his heart and his drive's going to be, that passion. And we also saw that New England, even with the amount of awfulness that CJ Stroud is putting up, they weren't as impressive to me as they should have been. They did not capitalize on mistakes that definitely should have been capitalized on.
Yeah, it did take them a while to really put Houston away for good. That game got into the fourth quarter, really. So that's you got Sean Payton coaching against Mike Vrabel. 2 good coaches, 2 good minds there. I think Vrabel's going to be able to scheme against Stidham and take away the intermediate routes. It's just going to be. I'm wanting to say you can't take Stidham and think that he's going to go out there and beat New England, but then again, Drake May has not really played under that much pressure.
Yeah, and
so
you do have the defensive aspect of Denver, which I think that's why. And I'm going to contribute this whole thing. I'm not going to discount Bo Nix at all, but their defense kept them in, and even in overtime, that defense looked like they were well conditioned. They weren't tired. You didn't see guys falling out, taking the pretend injury timeout. And so that, again, you're right. Will they put pressure on Drake May, and will Drake May go through that? Will he work it out or what?
that thin air up there in Denver, it ain't no joke. And
Yeah.
that game is in Denver, so we'll see what Drake May does. I'm gonna pick. Oh, I have to. There's a principle involved here. I have to pick New England because you can't think that a guy who's played what 8 NFL games in his life is going to come in this situation against New England and win the game. So I'm going to take New England, but not terribly surprised if I'm wrong here. But I got to go New England on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
New
New
England is
England.
not
I'm gonna
this
go New
game.
England too. In fact, I've been looking at my board all week, and I really that's what I see the outcome. I think that again, it'll be a field goal to one score game. At the end of the day, when the clock hits 0-0-0-0, right? I think that we'll figure that out. That it was a hard fought game. And you're right. I think that if I have, because we've always had the one upset right each week, and I think that if there was an upset, it would be the Broncos.
Yeah,
Um,
well, when we get to the next game here,
well,
I don't
right
know if
now we are January 25th, 5:30 p.m.
that's
Rams, sorry,
6:30
Rams.
p.m. for all y'all on the East Coast and 3:30 p.m. for all y'all on the West Coast. But
Dude,
Justin's in that weird time zone where I remember always being an hour late or early for the games when the Kings would play the Dallas Stars. I'm like, what the hell kind of start time is that? But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
okay, Rams at Seattle, 2.5 point spread here. Seattle's favored by 2.5 points. Stafford, it's easy to see him somehow being the difference here. But that defense of Seattle, the run game is the same here. Both of them have a good solid run game. It's hard to pick here, and there's some good edge rushers there
I think.
for the
Well,
Rams.
I think we keep
So
looking at the defense for Seattle, but I think we cannot forget about the defense for the Rams.
I get that, and also
Yeah.
Sam Darnold. Is it possible that he reverts back to whatever it was?
This is as far as he's gotten. This is
Yeah.
again as far as he's gotten. He has had some bad mistakes where you kind of look at him and go, that
But
probably
remember,
was
he was nails against the Rams down the stretch when they played that regular season game late in the year. And
yeah,
there you had the playoff positioning was still in question. And he was lights out coming from, I think, what was it, 14 down in the
yeah.
second half and beating the Rams. So
I
he's
think
ready for this. We got home crowd and everything. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna go Seattle. But if Stafford, you know, wins this game, not at all surprised. And I mean, not at all. So, all you Rams fans out there, yeah, I know what Stafford can do. I'm going to say Seattle because Seattle's defense is slightly better than the Rams. The Rams have the players. I'm going to say that the defense of the Rams is a little of the Seahawks a little bit better. I think that'll be the difference. But then again, Stafford is better than Darnold. Maybe that'll be the difference. I got to make a pick here. Seattle home crowd up there in the PNW. I'm going to go ahead and take Seattle because, well, we didn't think that Stafford would win last week against the Elements in Chicago because
yeah,
he's always played in a dome or in Southern
right.
California. So
And what
it's
do
hard
you
to
do?
go against Stafford. I'm saying Seattle with when they don't call them the Legion of Boom 2. They call them something of the dark side, I think it is, something of that nature.
Yeah.
That's
It
what they call
doesn't
them.
matter. It
I'm not
doesn't
sure.
matter what they call him. They can call him Sally for all I care because I'm going with the hometown heroes. Okay. Now I get it. I'm out in the Midwest, the Southwest here, but I'm still going with my hometown heroes. I think the Rams again. Stafford's the experience. Stafford's the guy that's going to control the game, and he obviously did last week. And I think that the defense showed up ready to rock and roll. Special teams, though, I got to say that is a problem, right?
Yeah.
But I still think that when it comes down to it, I think that again, Stafford and Puka Nakua, I think that they're gonna connect and just be the team. They're gonna be the guys.
Well, I was talking with a buddy of mine who's a Patriots fan, and I kind of he was saying it's going to be the Patriots and Seahawks, and the Patriots get the win. And I said, no, it's going to be the Seahawks over the Patriots, and the Seahawks get revenge for that loss in the Super Bowl. And he said, what do you mean revenge? Revenge for what? For making the most horrible play call in the history of Super Bowl? The Patriots did nothing for you to take vengeance on.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, okay, you know what? You got me there.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a poor choice of words. Maybe they will get a ring that they should have. The Seahawks, as I see it, they should have 3 rings as a franchise. Super Bowl 40, even though I love the Steelers also, they are my number 2 squad, but Super Bowl 40, that was a travesty. In fact, the head referee, Bill Levy, had to come out a year later and actually apologize for all the bad calls he made in that Super Bowl.
For that play. Yeah, for that. I remember that.
What was that touchdown, the phantom touchdown that Ben Roethlisberger had?
Yeah.
They said it wasn't a touchdown. Then they reviewed it, said it was a touchdown. And anyone who has seen that replay knows that ball never crossed the goal line.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I think that was the year, though, the reffing was just in general bad, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was rigged, not by the league, but, because I don't want to go down those stupid rabbit holes I see all over social media with all these pinheads.
Yeah, those
are 2 years out who's going to win the Super Bowl and all this other nonsense.
Those are drunk idiots.
Yeah, and you can look at the colors in the Super Bowl logo and tell that it's matching the teams that are going to get to the Super Bowl. I've heard some ridiculous things out there from degenerate gamblers. If you're coming up with that stuff, just 2 words for you: get help.
Yeah. All right. I think let's call it with that one. Get help.
Yes.
Anyway, this is T.D.G.S. Sports. Thank you for tuning in. You will find us on Rumble. You will find us on YouTube. You will find us on Substack. And now you will find us on Apple Podcast here. I will have them all uploaded within the next day. And so we can see if our picks are right. And if you have any comments, go ahead, comment. We love that. I love the Caleb Stinks comment. That was great. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. And we appreciate y'all. So long.